This story is called The Boy of Insight. It's a story of an enslaved African born in the United States during slavery during the mid 1700s. We'll call this boy the Boy of Insight because unlike so many other enslaved Africans who were brainwashed by their enslavers, this boy never believed anything the enslavers said. He had the ability to see through the lies. He refused to accept anything that insulted his own intelligence. And for this reason, he was always a thorn in the side of the master. The boy even learned to read. It was a secret that his mother made him never admit because it was against the law for him to learn to read. Very inquisitive little boy. Now, on the plantation, for the last several years now, crop was doing not very well. If I didn't say the boy is 7 years old at this time, the story. The crop's not doing very well. So the master would hire some of the house Negroes to go and get food that he would store inside a large shed so that he and his family and the house Negroes would eat during the extreme winters. While the field Negroes would have very little to eat. So often the field Negroes would lose significant amount of weight during the winter times, but the master kept food locked away. That is for him, his family, and the house Negroes. And to keep the field slaves from going to the barn and investigating, they sent the house Negroes to go among them and tell them that the barn was haunted. The barn was haunted. Stay away from the barn. The barn is haunted. One morning, everybody got up early in the morning. Everyone's sleeping. But the little boy, the boy of insight, woke up while everyone was still asleep. He was inquisitive about the barn. So he walked over to the barn while everyone was still asleep. He was a little nervous. He was apprehensive because of all of the stories that had been told him that the barn was haunted. But the little boy knew there was some more to this. So the little boy picked up the biggest rock his little hands could lift. His little arms can lift. And he kept hitting the lock. And he eventually broke the lock open. She swung open the door, went inside, and he saw all the food. He saw all these canned foods, bottled food, smoked ham, everything, all this food that the master has been hiding for his family and the loyal house Negroes while during the winter times, the field slaves starved. So the boy rang the old triangulated bell, So all the slaves woke up and they said, boy, what you wake us up for? It ain't time to pick cotton yet. And the boy said, look here, master been lying to us. Look at all this here food, all this food here, and the master been lying to us. So one of the male slaves, one of the senior slaves, walked and looked inside the barn. He saw all the food. He saw all. Then looked at the boy and said, boy, didn't master tell you to stay out of this barn? Didn't master tell you that? The boy replied, hey, well, we here hungry. Why don't we eat the food? And the boy said, and they said, the other slaves started yelling at the boy. Yes, I said, you always causing problems for the master. The master told us to stay out the barn. And the boy was shocked. You see the food. You see we're starving. But the slaves were angry at the boy. You always causing problems. So a couple of slaves grabbed little rocks and started throwing at the boy. The boy's mother saw and she screamed and she grabs the boy and she runs. The slave give chase. And the mother and the son fall in the lake where they both drown. The slaves watch and they say, good riddance. Good riddance. That boy always causing problems for the master anyway. So they walked over to the barn and they did their best to kind of put the lock back together, put it back on the door, and they closed the door and they said, don't nobody else go here in this barn. Don't nobody else go here in this barn. You hear me? Everybody agreed. Now let's go pick cotton. In that story, those people, minds were conditioned to think in ways that benefits their master, even against their own self-interest. And when the boy was trying to shift their mind to think in ways that was within their own self-interest, they got angry at him, stoned him, chased him till he died. This is the collective state of our people today. And it's not being addressed because this state among our people benefits the white society. Our people's minds have been turned against itself. This is why when we speak truth, our people look at us like, why you don't like white people? Oh, you a racist. What you got against white people? That's their response when we speak accurately, when we speak intelligently, when we speak as the boy of insight, show the truth, speaking in ways that was beneficial to the slaves, but the slaves were programmed to think against their own interests. It is called socialize. There are 4 ways to manipulate the human brain: by what we're taught, by what we see, by what we hear, and through repetition. Because the white society controlled the education we're taught, the media images we see, the societal narratives that we repeatedly hear, just allow them to control our minds, shape our minds in ways that serve the white society without us even realizing it. The tactic is called ideological subversion. Ideological subversion is when the dominant culture exploits its monopoly over information that's fed into the minds of the subordinate population to shift their thinking in ways that are against their own interests and that serve the interests of the white society, the dominant society. We have to we have to wake up. We have to wake up. Because this is a system they're planning on continually using. They're planning on using this indefinitely on our future generations. If we wake up and address it, confront it, and eradicate it, we are in a unique position now to free the minds of Africans who aren't even born yet. If we dismantle the brainwashing system now. One love and peace. One love and peace.